I do love that I get to improvise on, like last night I did, Comedy Republic bar show, and I was just on stage and I was just going off about topics. Like I was like going who's single? And people were like, I'm single. I was going, don't you think it's weird that like couples are allowed out in the street? And like just saying stuff that is so grandeur, but it's almost like, but I feel like I can get away with it because I'm doing this persona.
Well, another great, if you don't go with Australia's second most attractive female comedian, another great show title, Going Off About Topics.
I'm going, this is great. I'm going to write all this down. Like going off about topics.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Do Everything, a podcast in which I, Tommy Dasilo, your stupid ass little mate, am attempting to assemble a complete guidebook to the human experience by chatting with different guest experts about what they've learned how to do, what they've always known how to do, and what they feel the stupidest about. Today on the show, ELOUISE EFTOS, Australia's first attractive comedian, is going to teach me how to get the blue tick, how to piss off your entire family, and how to not be self-deprecating. But before we get into that, I have to let you know that very soon, in fact in 2 weeks if you're listening to this hot off the presses, I am doing my new show, Main Character, at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival at the Coopers Inn. I would love you guys to come and see this show. I think it is just, I'm so into it. I'm having such a good time doing it. I think it's great. I'm so pumped for the festival to kick off. This is the most excited I've been for a festival in years and years and years. So get your tickets, get down. It's been going great all around the country so far. I cannot wait to kick this season off. I'm then in Sydney and Brisbane in May. Tickets to all of those, tommydasilo.com. But today on the show, ELOUISE EFTOS, Australia's first attractive comedian. You may have seen her videos online. She's at Weezer Squeezer. She has been touring this show called Australia's First Attractive Comedian all over the place. I did not really know her at all before doing this episode with her, but she was in town, and so I reached out and we had a chat that I've got to say was quite different to what I was expecting it to be. I did not expect this to be this earnest of a chat. There's definitely still heaps of funny stuff in here, but I had a great time chatting with ELOUISE and sort of getting to know her a bit better, kind of basically live through the course of the episode. I'm excited for this one to go out. I'm excited for you guys to hear this. I think it's a really fun and interesting chat. And so without further ado, let's get into it. This is How to Do Everything with ELOUISE EFTOS.
I did the Underground Theatre at the Powerhouse, and Tommy, not only did I sell it out, sorry, I'm so embarrassed, but
did you know we're recording?
No, I did.
That's so weird that you just kind of said
joking. That's crazy. Oh my god. Oh god, I'm so embarrassed. And then it was in like that beautiful like Underground Theatre, which is like it's almost like a mini arena. Yeah. And I couldn't, doing my show there, I was like, I never want to do my show anywhere else unless it's in
really?
here. It was insane. And then it was like standing ovation. It was like the Gladiator.
That's so weird that you mentioned
why would I say
the standing
that?
ovation where like, I don't really necessarily need to know that when we're just having a conversation.
No.
But we are recording.
We are?
This is one of those shows where I just kind of get the ball rolling and you never actually know that we've started. But so as far as you knew, we were off the air.
I thought we were off the air.
That's crazy that you just got those details in. Just
I'm glad
you thought for my benefit only. But
I thought it was just like, we were just hanging out, walking in and we were still, I thought you were still setting up, but I'm really,
that's how normal people talk in their day-to-day lives. They just drop references to standing ovations.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like, it's nice that it's on record now.
It's
actually nice that
it's good. This could be on your IMDb.
Yeah. Actually, we should do that. Oh yeah. Oh my God, I have an IMDb. Sorry, that's on record now too.
You're on your IMDb in your like bio bit. It does mention that you are Australia's first attractive comedian.
Yeah.
Which I love that you've managed to get that in there.
Yes.
My IMDb says that I'm a 4 foot tall female.
Really?
So if you have any links to how to get that changed and put in something that you actually want in there, I'd really appreciate it.
You know what? I'll get onto that for you. But I'm going, do you have an IMDb Pro account? You can get the Pro account and you can add your own photos.
Yeah, but that's like paying for the blue tick. I'm not doing that. That's how undignified.
Okay. How funny is it? Okay, I got the blue tick I promise you I didn't pay for the blue tick.
Yeah,
Tommy.
no, I believe
I would never
you.
do
Yeah,
that.
no, I believe you.
You know, I'm not sick like that.
Well, I think you would do it, but I believe you that you didn't.
Thank you.
I believe that
I'm a
you
little
do
bit
it.
like that backhanded compliment. I'm going, sorry? Like I was almost like delayed. I'm like, you can tell I had a coffee today. I'm going, what'd you say to me? No, I'll allow it. No, I find it really funny because I can tell when people paid for it.
Yeah.
I think it's actually like my sixth sense. You know, some people are like, I can tell, you know, that
it
someone
does.
has.
Well, I mean, after a certain date, it's like you can't get it legitimately now, can you?
Well,
you
I
have
think
to have paid for it.
I think you can. I had to add like 3 articles.
Oh, okay.
Of like,
right.
and that's how I got it.
Yeah, sure.
But I think but I'm going, how much does it cost? In this economy, you're paying for a blue tick? Like,
it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. It's like, what a dystopian world we live in.
I've never had it, which is frustrating to me because I've also had someone impersonate me on a social media platform. And
You're
someone
joking.
at the time told me this can actually be kind of good because what this can lead to is then you do get the blue tick because it's like, hey, someone to just protect against this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of tried to use that to get myself through, and they were like,
yeah.
I think they basically were like, who cares if someone impersonates you? You're no one. Like,
I know you're going, but I am someone because someone's impersonating me. Like,
Yeah.
No, don't worry. We're going to work on that PR and we're going to find some articles after this.
great, thank you. I
Just
mean,
for
there are
you.
articles out there.
I know that there would be. I know
The
that
Daily Mail wrote
you,
about my other podcast ending a couple of months ago. Wouldn't that be crazy if like an article about me not doing a slice of work anymore was the thing that they went, okay, this guy
That guy is so
famous enough
famous
to get a blue tick.
They wrote an article about him stopping working. Like that for me is like, that's the article you're putting in first.
Yeah,
I've already
big
decided
time.
that.
Big time. Daily Mail, big time legit.
You know what? As soon as you make the Daily Mail is going to get you it, I reckon.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, you know what's more pathetic than paying for the blue tick?
Yeah.
Is the people that, I know some people have done this, because it's just, you can put like, just like an emoji, right? That
Yes.
looks similar to the tick.
Okay,
So you can just put
yes.
that in your display name.
I think people thought that that's what I did because I put the evil eye there, but I'm just really superstitious and I'm a wog. So
Right.
being like a Greek Macedonian girl, I genuinely put the evil eye there because I was like, people are going to go on my page and give me the evil eye or like the Molokyo if you're Italian.
Yep. Which I'm not.
You're not Italian?
Just to be clear, no.
What's your last name?
Well, my real last name
Yes.
is Allsop.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like kind of like Aesop.
Yeah. Kinda.
Okay.
I mean, if I had my time again, I would have that as my stage name. And I would just
Really?
pretend that I was the heir
So
to
you
that
have a
Aesop.
stage name, babe, and you don't have a blue tick?
Yeah.
Okay, no. We've got to sort this out.
All right. So this is your expert subject for this
I mean,
episode of
is
the
it?
podcast. How to get a blue tick.
I mean, is it? I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, I don't know if I'm an expert in it. All I know is that you need 3 articles. But I'm also kind of going, yeah, like to have a stage name is so fun. There was a moment where I was almost like, should I have a stage name because I don't know, family getting like, oh, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Just like, you know, what I think people are like. But
Do you actually think that your family would have like
they have had issues.
Oh, really?
Some family members have said things. And I'm a little bit like, you should be so lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, isn't it so funny though, as soon as you do well, I don't know, I feel like families
Can't relate, but go on.
well, don't
Continue.
do self-deprecating to me. Self-deprecating humor's dead, and I say that
sure.
in my show, you know?
We are really on the opposite ends of the spectrum
We
here.
are,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I kind of love. Obviously, when I do my persona on stage, like obviously I'm like joking, but then there's a part of me like in everyday life, there is a part of me that's like, I hope that I become a bit more like my persona in real life because
Yeah.
I hate that it's, especially as a woman, I think it's especially for women, it's very much like, keep your head down. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, people pleaser, like all of that bullshit. It's like, I don't know. I think I saw this quote somewhere. It was like, if you don't have like a bit of like I don't know, sort of like pushback as a woman, or if you're not like strong or like opinionated as a woman, like you're gonna have a really tough life.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
that whole idea of like, if you don't have a bit of something to get like a bit of fire under you to like sort of push back,
Yeah.
you'll suffer. And it's kind of, I do feel like I have suffered. I've suffered for like, oh my God, that sounds a bit fucking intense. I've really suffered, you know, I've really suffered.
Hey, this show is like, it's a new enough show. It can pivot into being a show about suffering. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. So like,
Totally.
you can
okay.
set the course
I'm
here.
going, cool. So suffering, where do we begin? No, I'm going, no, not for the brand. No, I find it quite funny because I think people probably I know that people when they first saw me in Australia were a bit like, who the fuck does this girl think she is? I was like, clearly I was joking, but there's also a part of me that's like, the more confident you are, it's almost like that manifestation thing. Like there is a part of me that's like, if you do believe that you're going to do something, you'll do it. Like there's a little bit of me that believes that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like I've kind of done versions of that where I've had runs in the comedy festival where I've felt like it's very funny to be on social media posting about the show and have that real like bravado about it, but in like kind of a silly, self-effacing way.
Yes.
And when you put that mask on, it is kind of, it's addictive. It feels good because then it's like, it is that positive manifestation thing.
Yeah.
Like if you decide that you're going to live your life this way, you kind of all of a sudden do start seeing the benefits of it.
It's crazy how it actually does. I don't know, because there's times like I'm a very anxious person. There's definitely times where I feel very like, what the hell am I doing? Like, oh my God, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Imposter syndrome, like all of that. Like it happens all the time. But there is a part of me that is like, the more that I believe that what I'm saying on stage is resonating with people, and then they tell me that it is, and I go, look, these people are saying this and posting about it. It's like, well, why wouldn't I celebrate that? Because
of course,
pretend, I don't really know, like my show, like I just don't really care. Like I just don't really, I fucking hate that shit. I hate it. Yeah. That's why I kind of hate shy people.
Right. And I think like part of the battle is just having that balance of like whatever side of it you're going to believe, you've then got to at least equally believe in the other side of it.
Totally.
So if you only believe the most negative view of yourself, then that's bad. You've got to believe in the wins, that the wins came from a good place. And likewise, if you only believe in the wins and you don't ever have a bit of like being humbled by the bad stuff or taking some of that on, then it's like that's where you get the total disconnect on either side. And like, again, not to make this too Tommy Dassalo's New Suffering podcast, but
love the
there
New
was a
Suffering
point
podcast.
Like years ago, my therapist was like, he pulled me up on like, just everything you say about yourself is so like negative. And I was like,
oh, like this.
I was like really? And he's like, and he gave me the rundown and I was like, yeah, but I mean, I'm joking. And he's like, but to her, like, we're in therapy. Like we're not, this isn't a gig. This isn't a podcast. This isn't a bit. Like you're saying this stuff because you do kind of believe it in some way.
Yeah.
And even if you're not, like you're still, that's the view of yourself that you're putting out to people.
Honestly, Tommy, that's what I find so fascinating. Like, sorry to talk about like personal life stuff, but I feel like this is so, I'm embarrassed.
Sorry to talk about my personal life on a podcast.
Talk about my personal life on a podcast. Like me being like, so this is the real me now. This is the real me. Tommy's
getting deep while wearing a George Costanza shirt.
jacket. I'm going, but I feel like there's a part of me that definitely believes that because over the last few months, I've just had this like really, because I'm single and I just had this like moment where I was like, no one messages me. I feel like no one wants to ask me out on a date. Like I haven't been on a date. I'm like, what's going on? I'm almost like started to, the more that I said it, I was like, that's what's fucking me up probably. Is the more that I'm believing.
Oh, the more that you're thinking about it or
the more that I'm going, no one messages me, everyone's scared of me, no one likes me. It's like the more you say that, the more it's a bit like I've lately over the last few months is like, I need to stop doing that because I actually think that that's the energy that I'm putting out a little bit. Right. Of like people are scared of me, like no one messages me. And then it's almost like as soon as you change that, you do notice, I'm like, oh, like it's fine. Yeah. I don't know why. It's
I mean, but I feel like that's kind of always been a thing in comedy is like a completely dog shit looking male comedian can be up there with a lot of confidence and like that will win women over. But then I think like when it goes, if it's like the other, like attractive female comedian doing really well.
Thank you.
It doesn't pay off. Like men get scared. Like,
well, okay.
It's
Tommy, thank
like
you.
it doesn't go the other way. And I know that's like a very gendered way to look at it. And obviously coming from like I have like no experience in it, but like that's kind of how it's always.
But I'm glad that you're saying it because I feel like silly saying it sometimes. But there's a part of me that's like almost convincing myself like, oh my work career is going really well and I'm focusing on that and that's why no one's messaging me. Like it's almost like oh it's the universe protecting me or some bullshit. Which I also am like that's so sad. That's like almost what I've been told, like you can only have one thing. Like if you're a woman in comedy, you only have one thing. And men don't like funny women. They don't like confident women. They don't like loud women or whatever. And there's a part of me that's like, I know that that's not completely true, but I hate that like, unfortunately there's this part of me.
But I think it also does tap into like people do think that what is happening up there on stage is just and this is with everyone, not a
Totally.
character that it's like that's the real person. And so
Even comedians thought that, Tommy.
yeah, so your persona is like, don't talk to me, like I'm very like
I don't need you.
unapproachable kind of thing. And I'm sure there are people that are sitting there like kind of taking that at face value. And I mean, it goes back to what I wanted to say before when you were talking about your family and them being like, maybe taking it the wrong way. It made me think of, I don't know if you've seen this article, this interview with Adam Sandler when Uncut Gems was coming out.
Yes.
And it was basically about how the interviewer was like, you're so great at this dramatic stuff. You barely ever do it. And now you're doing one again and it's great. And the interview was basically like, I know that all the fans of your dramatic work want to know, like, why don't you do more stuff like this?
Yeah.
And he basically told this story about how his family, when he did Punch Drunk Love, which is about a depressed man.
I love that movie.
A great film.
God, incredible film.
But his sisters saw it and called him up and were like, hey, you all right?
That's so cute. That's so like.
Yeah, but like, sure, but like, what do they think? There's a film where he plays the son of the devil. Like,
It's so funny. Like, that's so funny. But like, it's almost like, and bless him for being so like considerate, I guess, of his family. But there is a part of me where I have almost had to like separate that, like, as in I've had to separate what, like, or just try and not think about it. Even like with my like, even my dad, like, I'm very close with my dad and I feel like I really want to, make him proud or and make sure that because I know that my comedy, like my love for comedy is from him. It's influenced from him showing me Seinfeld and showing me, and then my mom, like, Kath and Kim, like my dad was the one who showed me comedy and I was very much like, he's even said it to me. He's like, he's very funny. And I think he's always said.
Well, he was also in that show, The Comedy Company.
Yeah. I wish.
You and your sisters, Tula, Sula.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. How could I forget? Oh, my God, sorry. How could I forget that? Con the Fruiter.
Con the Fruiterer.
You know what's so funny? My dad's name's Don, so you're not far off.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. But you know what everyone says? Everyone says that my dad looks like George Clooney, so
also,
he's
did you just accidentally call him Con the Fruit?
The Fruit. I wish
that's
I said that.
That's a different character altogether.
That's a very different character. That's actually a really funny, like, almost like do Con the Fruit instead of Con the Fruit.
Con the Fruit, yeah. Cute. And that's a wonder that the Comedy Company didn't actually go there. That kind of era would have been in their wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
But so talking about your show and the response to it and everything, because I only met you quite recently. I met you after your show. I knew you, like I knew who you were. I followed you and everything. I'm trying to think of like the two things that made you stand out to me first of all. And I'll be honest, they're kind of negative.
Are they?
There was number one, I believe that you're from Perth.
Yes.
No offense. And
saying no offense after that, I'm going, no, you can say it.
But you, again, on your IMDb, one of your credits is you're in a film called Road to Perth.
Yes.
And the character that you play is listed as
Perth Woman. For me, I'm going, when I said yes to doing that film, it was like a friend of a friend, maybe like, it was like actually like my dad's friend, son or whatever, and it's American. It's an American film, and I was like, I guess just starting like taking acting seriously, and they asked me to play this, but it's just me talking to camera, going, "Hi, like, but this is Perth. I'm standing here in Leaderville. I'm going," and then when I saw the credit, I was like, "Cool."
They didn't even give the character a name.
Not even a name.
Perth Woman.
And I'm like,
it's really good.
You've done your research, Tommy. I'm impressed.
Oh yeah, I looked on IMDb for 5 minutes this morning.
I like their 5 minutes. There's not many credits, but that was so silly. Like I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
I just remember doing it.
You've never watched
it? Seen it? Yeah, what a bit of a shame. I probably should watch that.
Yeah, maybe check it out. Maybe. I mean, just out of interest.
Out of interest. But like,
anyway.
Does she look like a Perth woman?
Yeah.
Like,
but so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you were back there during the lockdowns.
COVID, 2020. Yeah. I moved back.
So immediately, anyone that dodged the draft that was able to just thrive and do gigs. Anyone in Melbourne, it's just a deep-seated thing here that we have of like, how dare you be able to live your life in this moment.
I don't blame you.
Because we're all jealous.
Of course.
If I had have had the foresight to be like, yeah, babe, let's just go live with your mum for 2 years.
How do you think
we
that
won't go crazy
gone?
doing that.
How do you think that would have gone?
Well, I mean, it's different.
Would it have been better than staying here in Melbourne, or?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. You have.
Would you want to do the Comedy Lounge, babe, every fucking weekend?
Yeah.
Babe, trust me, I was
become deeply anti-vax just by having been there.
You know what happened to me is that it was like that was like boot camp doing those gigs there.
Oh, really?
Because when I first got back, let's not get into the politics of all the guys that were working there, but one of my very good friends was working there and believed in my comedy, put me on, but I was bombing, babe, when I first got back.
Oh, really?
It was hard.
Right.
Because I also realized I was like, I've been doing Sydney and Sydney's, 10 years ahead. And so my comedy is a little bit more ahead. And so I did start comedy in Perth, but I don't know, maybe I almost was like committing a bit more in Sydney. So then when I came back, Perth would be a bit like, what? Like,
you should have whipped out Con the Fruit.
I should have done Con the Fruit. What was I thinking?
Perth 2020.
I should have done like FE 2.0. There'd be times where it'd be like the shittest gig ever, and then the second show it would be the biggest crush I'd ever have.
Right.
But then at the Comedy Lounge it became also, because I'm a singer, that would do karaoke. And I get Johnny always coming up to me going, you're right to go out there and do karaoke. And I'd be like, yeah. And every night I go, you go out there and always do the karaoke. And I'd always have to do Valerie.
Yeah, right.
And I'd start with Valerie, and that would be it was almost like I was like paying my dues. Like, it was quite funny. It was almost like out of a movie.
Are the audience getting up and singing as well?
No, I feel like I would get sometimes people to come and dance with me.
Yeah, right.
You can come and dance and sing along, but I'd also be a bit like, no,
I just love a guy that thinks that anyone singing is karaoke. That's just you performing a song.
Yeah, that's actually just me.
If you know the song and you're up there just performing it, and other people aren't allowed the mic,
it's
that's
actually just me doing a concert. It's actually I should have been paid more money. Let's be honest. And then it would always be Sweet Caroline after.
Yep,
and then I would also do I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston. God, some big songs from me.
So you were out there, you were performing, you were getting better at your craft.
Yeah.
Cool. We were watching Squid Game and making bread. Anyway.
No, but get this, Tommy, I ended up going back to Sydney in February 2021, and I thought I'd missed the lockdowns.
Yeah.
And guess what? I had not. So 2021 lockdown, I got stuck in. But I did have a Sopranos themed 29th birthday.
Oh, cool.
So that kind of made up for it.
Yeah.
I made an episode of Love Island for my housemate Angel's birthday.
See, now I think this was the other thing that I'd seen.
Is this
about
how you
it was
sing?
a very. You made a sketch that was like a. What was it? It was a very derogatory Melbourne in lockdown based thing.
No, I think no. I didn't do a derogatory Melbourne. I did like the security guard POV. Like, I was the girl that seduced the security guard. I did that. I made fun of the
We've
AFL.
got to get to the bottom of whether that actually happened or not,
What was
by the
that?
way.
Yeah, we actually do have to get to the bottom of that.
It really was, in a weird way, because we were all on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
Because we had nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do.
But there was also this kind of weird thing where it was like living 20 years ago at the pub where someone would just like make something up.
Yes.
And no one had any way of verifying it. We had the way of verifying it, but it was like we didn't care.
Yeah.
There were like all these rumors about
We wanted to
how
believe
these
it. We wanted to
outbreaks
believe
had
the
started.
rumors.
And people were like, look, we have nothing else going on. Let's just not look into this.
That's
Let's
so
just
funny.
live in this reality because that's fun.
That's so funny.
It just makes us feel funny about being trapped inside if it's because, for anyone listening from outside Melbourne or outside Australia, one of our big COVID outbreaks that sent us into a lockdown, the rumour went around that it had started because a security guard that was looking after a quarantine hotel where people had been sent from overseas had fucked one of the quarantine people, and she had COVID, and then he'd taken it home to his whole family, and then that
was the whole thing. And I find that quite funny because I actually don't think it's true, but isn't it so funny? Like that video I made,
it's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. And I will never forget like that video. It was like me in like sexy lingerie with like a robe on, being like, I'm like not even sick, and like coughing.
Yep.
And it was so stupid. And my friend had like had fucking Timberlands on. Pretending that she was.
Actually, no, I've just remembered what it is. It was the Love Island video, and I think it was specifically the fact that you were able to like gather enough people to film a sketch like that while being in lockdown.
But you know what it was? You know what the gag was? The reason why we had enough people is because I was living with 4 people. How fucked is this? I was the only single one.
Right.
So I could have partners over.
Yeah, rough.
And I couldn't, which is rough. Like it started, then I...
You just had to go to like JB Hi-Fi or Supre or any of the other department stores.
So I remember like, well, at the time, my housemate Angel, whose birthday was, she became single just before it. And so I was she loved Love Island. So I was like, let's do a Love Island themed party. So the reason we had so many people is because the boys we were living with, their girlfriends could come over. So that's why we had a cast of many girls in the villa.
Yeah, okay.
So that's how we got away with it.
This is important context that I didn't have.
And now
also the fact that it was like deep Melbourne winter. Like, you can go outside for an hour a day, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
You guys are up there in your bikinis, strutting around in your backyard.
Tommy, you're like going like this. I'm going, Tommy, something I should tell you is like when I commit to a fucking bit, I commit. Like it was fucking cold and I committed. Like it was definitely cold in Sydney, but I made sure, I mean, not Melbourne cold, but it was cold for a Perth girl.
Yeah, sure.
And I made the mic packs. Like it was like an arts and crafts day.
Yeah. You were keeping busy.
I was keeping busy and entertaining the masses, you know.
And hey, as you know, the what are we calling it? The Sadness Podcast?
Yeah, what was it called?
What was the start of it? Anyway.
I love it. Whatever it is, I do like it. Like
it's all me. This is like nothing that is anything to do with you. This is just all me losing my mind, trapped in the house, just like anything that came across your radar. You were like,
who the hell is this?
Hell is this?
And this is me confirming. I'm like, no. You're like, you should be. It's actually, don't be mad at me. Like
I bought into the character.
You bought in. You know what? You're not the first.
So is this what you'd say when I was like, to bring it back to the idea of this show?
Yeah.
The things that you would consider yourself to be an expert in, or things that you wish you knew more about, or more of an expert in. Would you say that it's wanting to find a way to like maybe take that energy from on stage into like the rest of your life a bit more?
Yeah, that's almost like what
because I have that. I have so much like self-doubt about my comedy and everything I do, as I think most people do.
Absolutely. I do too.
And I get embarrassed to like ask for things or pitch myself for things.
Yes.
But the sheer fact of just being up on stage is embarrassing. So it's crazy to have like that part of your brain muted.
Totally.
And be okay with being like saying to a room full of people, I truly believe that I am more funny and interesting than all of you.
Yeah.
So to be fine with that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
But to then have the next step of like, oh, I'm worried to ask for this thing because it's it's crazy to have that part of your brain at that point of it. Why not have that before the very beginning of it and just work in an office and be completely ashamed and embarrassed of being out in public like most people are?
Or just exactly. Or just like in shame and embarrassed of your whole life. Like that's why for me, I'm like, I hate that. Like even just what I was talking about before, like even when it comes to like stuff like dating or like just us, for me, it's like I find it so funny that on stage I'm like, I don't give a fuck and da. And then off stage I'll be like, oh my God. Or I feel like I have to almost like, I know I'm a very soft like person and I'm actually not as like hard or tough, but like they are all like I'm multifaceted, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like I need to bring some more of, as I'm, doing this in my career and I'm playing this persona more and more people are seeing me like this. It's like I don't have to be so like, I'm actually like this. I'm actually really shy and actually really like, I'm so nice. Like I'm actually not mean. Like I feel like I would do it backstage a lot when I first started comedy because I noticed that the comedians, like a lot of the comedians didn't get what I was doing. So I'd be overly nice and then they'd almost treat me like shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's a weird thing too, isn't it? Because I feel like the kind of the perception of what you're doing in your act is it's like, oh, she's really authentic. Like she just wants to be like this way. So this is just how she's acting on stage. Like she's not getting up there and she's dressing how she wants to dress and she's not pretending to be anything else. But then to hear you tell it that it is like this kind of
there's something there. There's something there.
I mean, it's obviously like inside you in some way, but that it isn't like your that it's not your I think it perhaps gives the impression that that's just how you've turned up to the venue. You know what I mean? Like, but it is like you're getting into the zone and it's not like your immediate default if you were to just like.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like also for me, I've talked about this so much, but like I was bullied in high school. I wasn't cool. I wasn't, I didn't think I was hot or anything, or like I wasn't popular. I was like a theater nerd. And it's so funny like that as soon as it's almost like that manifestation thing. I'm actually so hot. I'm so this. And people come up to me after gigs, Tommy, and go, you actually are really hot. Like people will come up to me and tell me that and I go, oh, thanks. It's so funny.
I know you said it on stage at a comedy show, so you kind of think that it's a joke, but you are actually hot. Did you know that?
But it's so funny that I kind of have to be like, I'm sort of like me, ELOUISE goes, oh my God, thank you. Like, that's so nice of you. But in persona I go, I know. Like, and it's kind of funny because there's a part of me that's like, I'm a dancer. Like I grew up like fucking hating my, like, I turned 30. I was like, my fucking body. Like the amount of times that I think like, I love that I dress the way that I want to dress on stage and all this kind of stuff. Oh my God, I'll never forget me doing like the Will Anderson podcast. And even now, like I'm not wearing a bra because it's fucking uncomfortable to wear a bra, but I'll never forget me seeing the clips of me on the Will Anderson podcast and I went, oh my God, I should have worn a bra. Like, oh my God, I look like a fucking whore. And it's like, who's that? Who's that? Like, that's not me. I don't think that's me. I think that's almost like my upbringing or like the society or like something. I find it quite fascinating. It's almost like I honestly think it's a little bit me being like, be a good girl, don't do the wrong thing, like the upbringing of that a little bit. And then doing these things where I'm like, I actually want to talk about, how, shitty it is to be a woman or like how feminism's like blah, 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 all of this kind of stuff. But then it's funny how like I'll get off stage and I'm like, is that too much?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what's so fascinating about this, like, I guess overshare culture that we're in at the moment, and like just also being a certain age too, is that like you get to a point where you start talking about this stuff and it's like, oh, everyone's had this experience. It's like it's almost more relatable than the getting up and the, your persona and your jokes are very funny, but then like I kind of think like people knowing that that's kind of internally what's going on when you walk off stage.
Yes.
Is like that's the like most relatable thing.
Totally.
Because like everyone has that experience of like any little thing that they've tried to do over their life or especially childhood and being like, cut down in some way for it.
Totally. And I also think that I definitely think that there's a part of me that wants to, I think for my next show, like I'm not sure exactly what it's definitely going to be about, but my next show idea is to talk about like how I don't know if love is real and I've never been in love.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like a bit more of a vulnerable kind of thing. I still want to talk in the persona because for me it's so fun.
Yeah. I've got a title for you for the next show.
What do you?
Australia's second most attractive comedian. if you just like every new show,
that's quite funny.
You're just like going down the road. It's like, guess what? Here she is for her 50th year in the industry.
That's so funny.
Top 50.
That's so funny. It actually works. So it's kind of like a sequel of a film. Like, they've got to make it like, that's so silly.
And hey, it's like, it's like Steve Jobs wearing the same thing into the office every day. You never have to have that thing of sitting around during registration period going,
exactly.
What the fuck should I call this show this year?
That makes it so much easier. I do love that I get to improvise on, like last night I did, Comedy Republic bar show and I was just on stage and I was just going off about topics. Like I was like going like, I was going, who's single? And people were like, I'm single. I was going, don't you think it's weird that like couples are allowed out in the street? And like just saying stuff that is so grandeur, but it's almost like, but I feel like I can get away with it because I'm doing this persona.
Well, another great, if you don't go with Australia's second most attractive female comedian, another great show title, Going Off About Topics.
I'm going, this is great. I'm going to write all this down, like going off about topics, but
Well, in that wanting to get in the way of couples. So I got back from Vietnam with my fiance yesterday. So I was having to do like some of my like prep for this.
Yes.
If you can call it that. If anyone listening to this can see any evidence of any preparation whatsoever.
The IMDb research.
IMDb, yeah. But I was kind of like going through your Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm like on the beach on a sun lounge next to my fiance, who just looks over at my phone.
Of course, she's your fiance, and so she should.
I'm just scrolling through videos of this woman in a bikini while we're on this romantic holiday.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, it's for the
research,
podcast.
It's research.
It's for my new podcast.
Oh my God, I'm pissing.
There's no episodes out yet. So you have no real evidence that that's what I've been going away and doing. But I swear, this is for a podcast that I'm doing as soon as we get back.
And what does she say? She goes, okay, I don't believe you. But
okay. I'm like, look, she's a dancer.
Yeah, I'm a dancer. But even that, like I find that so funny that like I've even had comedians being like, yeah, your Instagram's like porn. I was like, bitch, what kind of porn do you watch? Like, are you joking? Like like I know I would die if like my dad saw my Instagram, but there's a part of me that's like, I think
Is it private?
No, but he doesn't follow me, but we still message on it. How funny is that? Like he doesn't follow me.
So, but how do you know he hasn't had a look at the page?
Maybe he has, but I also think like it's for his best interest.
I think of course he has.
No, but there's a part of me that's like, when I went back to Perth and did like the work in progresses of my show, I like had like a bit of a word with him where I was like, you can come, but like, this is very WOG dad energy, ethnic dad energy, like maybe just dad energy actually in general. Couldn't like, there's times when he's seen my shows and he'll be like, oh yeah, what have I created? Or saying stuff like that. Right. Or like, what's this, or like, it's all joking, but can't just say that was really great.
Well done. Yeah.
And I almost said, I said to him, I remember like John Cruikshank played like the pilot in Mystery Flight and, and I was like, oh, you know, talking about that. And my dad's like, yeah, that was the best bit. The pilot was the best bit. And I'm like, I just fucking busting my ass doing can high kicks to Viva Las Vegas. And like, that's the best bit. It's like, I was in a G-string leotard, but it's kind of like that. My parents aren't that conservative, but it's almost like, I guess I'm his daughter, like I get that, but I had to like have a word with him where I was like, well, if you come to my show, like don't say anything fucking weird after, like this is I have to pretend that you're not there. Otherwise I'm not giving the people the show that I'm not giving them the real show.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he feels like by commenting on your performance when it is all, you know, you're in a leotard and you're doing like the dancing and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks that like that is weirder than, but it's like, no, you can just comment on the overall quality and say like, you did great and everyone loved it without being like, this is, I mean, I have the same thing with just like my parents like would not have ever gone to stand up in their life if it wasn't for having a son that did it. Yeah. And they'll give me like their feedback from a perspective of like being 80-year-olds, and it's like, no offense, but there is no point in me tailoring a show to you and people like you, because you would not have come to comedy if it weren't for having a son who did it. And like that's just not an audience that you can comment on the overall, wow, you went great. Everyone loved it, without being like, oh, that bit was a bit dirty. It's like, I just don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it, because also it's kind of like, don't come at all. Like there's a part of me that's like, I know one day, I don't know, like as an actor, like the amount of times I'm like, if I have to do like a sex scene or something one day, I don't want my parents to watch that. But it's also at the same time, it's kind of like, if you want to come to my show, because all my parents' friends wanted to come.
Yeah.
And actually, like, I think I just was like, you can come to the show, but don't say anything. And after, I remember my dad, like, he was actually really emotional, and he was like, that was great. And he was almost like, instead of the opposite of like the notes of like that bit was too dirty, he was, which I don't really, you know, but he was sort of doing the opposite of that, going, you know, that bit you do about Pete Best being fired from the Beatles, like, I reckon there's more there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's
that's
giving,
perfect.
Which is great. And I felt
big
so
dad
good.
energy.
Yeah. And I think like
lighting up at the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you see my show, you're going to be like, that's a really good bit, actually. But I feel like as well, there's a part of me like that is very, my music knowledge, all of this stuff, like comes from my dad. And my dad's even said to me, he goes, I think I'd be good at, you know, doing what you do.
But do you have like the relationship with your parents where you're like open with them about? Like, cause for
some things it depends. Like even my mum watches everything that I post. She reacts to every story that I post. Right. My mum will react to, like, if we took a photo right now and you're wearing blue and I'm wearing, let's say it's yellow, it's like turned out, she would reply to that with like a yellow love heart and a blue love heart.
I love it.
It's like she's onto it. She's like, it's like her job. You know?
She wants people to know that she's not colorblind.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
She can see what's going on.
Exactly.
But I was going to say, like, I have a good relationship with my parents, but it's not a very like open relationship. I have a friend who will talk to her mum about like,
everything.
Be like
details.
Oh, I had this like one night stand with a guy and he didn't call me back. And like, I
couldn't do that.
It's very like healthy and positive for her. Good and for she'll her. Probably watch this, so not to knock her.
No.
But
I mean, it's great.
I just truly cannot imagine myself in like every relationship I've been in, it's taken me like months to say to my parents like, oh, I'm seeing someone, and you know, then mum's like to her friends, like when I'm around, she'll be like, oh, well, he never tells us anything. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you never ask. Yeah, like you didn't foster a relationship where we have like an open like exchange.
Because I feel like as well, like we sort of have that. I think ever since I moved, like over the phone, there'll be times where like, I talk to my parents like kind of about everything, but not like in detail, but it would depend what I'm going through, I think. Like if I need to go into detail, there's times when I'm like, my parents were going to, and I'll be like, shit, like, which is kind of nice that it's opening up a little bit more. But there is a part of me that's like, I'm fine with like my mum seeing like my Instagram or whatever. And also for me, it's like when I like go dance in like a G-string at Mardi Gras and stuff, it's like, I'm not a bad person.
So casual.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not a bad person like for not wearing a bra. And I hate that like, it's like even my mum will be a bit like, you sure you don't want to wear like nipple pasties or like, you know, if I was at home in Perth, I definitely dress very differently when I'm in Perth sometimes because I do. My dad's said to me before, he's been like, you know, we had a huge fight. This is why I said this about the show. He was like, well, I was just going to go get my nails done. I had like a bikini on and a white like singlet dress. I just put it over the top. It's Perth. I've been at the beach all day.
Yeah.
And he goes, Elise, why do you always dress like a fucking prostitute like that? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I lost it.
Hey, Dad, it's sex worker.
It's actually sex worker. So actually,
it's 2024,
it's
Dad.
actually
Come
2024.
on.
And you know what? I'd make fucking good money. No, just kidding. But also, at the same time, like, sex work is real work. But at the same time, I was kind of like, what? Like, where did that come from? Like, what? And it's like that control thing. And I think it's kind of like a bit, I'm 32 years old. I hate that people think that like someone wearing something or doing something makes them like a whore.
Yeah,
or like this.
yeah.
I think that for me is almost why I want to dress the way that I dress, because it's like, this isn't doing anything to you. Like, I'm not hurting you.
Yeah, of course.
You're putting this on me.
Yeah.
It's like kind of why I talk about my nipples on stage. I'm like, yeah, I get it. You guys are fucking freaking out because you can see my nipples. It's like, you've all got them. You can fucking see them like in church. Jesus Christ has them out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is it such a big fucking deal?
You're awakening a whole other like side of conversation in me, like about fashion and about like wearing what you want. I mean, I'm wearing.
I love what you're wearing. You've got your Crocs on. I'm jealous.
I don't know how to get this camera.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to give you a yoga class.
I've got my Crocs that I bought in Vietnam that I've got the little bedazzled
they're
pearl
gorgeous.
necklace
I'm so
on.
jealous of those is it gibbets? Is that what you call them?
The gibbets, yeah.
I'm so jealous because also my Crocs are currently, I mean, I have Wu-Tang gibbets, but
Hell yeah.
But
I want to get gibbets, mate. I want to get merch gibbets. You can
get some, yeah.
There's a few like bands and stuff I've seen that have made their own as merch, and they're not allowed to use they're not like licensed.
Oh, okay.
But what that shows me is that there's a factory out there somewhere where
someone's
you can just
making
go,
them.
Hey man, just make me some knockoff gibbets with my little head on them.
Yeah, make a few trips to Vietnam would be right.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I would love that. But yeah, it's like very much like fashion, that whole I think, as I literally just saw Amy from Amel and the Sniffers talk about it, how she literally, I just posted this clip because I think it's so important. I actually love that we're talking about this, because this whole idea that like dressing skimpy or whatever as a woman, or like what fashion is, it's like I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm almost dressing in what like 90s, 2000s like models would wear. Or what I would want to dress as when I was a kid. And I love that. And it's like fun to express yourself. But it's funny how like people will almost try and shame you. And it's like these clothes are, like it's a little bit skin. I'm showing my skin. I'm showing off my body a little bit. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, even saying showing off my body, it's like, this is the body that I'm in and I'm decorating it the way. It's like almost when people get tattoos. Like, I don't know. I find it really wild though that it's, especially with women, it's very much like, why are you dressing like that? Are you trying to get male attention? I was like, if I wanted male attention, it's like, I don't need to do that. People, I'm wearing a hoodie down the street. Men are yelling out at me in public. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't, I find it quite like, I talk about it in one of my jokes.
That's a good, you could use that as a line of like, I'm not trying to get male attention. I'm trying to get everyone attention.
Exactly.
I'm trying to get attention.
I'm trying to get attention.
Like, where people have eyeballs.
Yeah.
Comedy's a visual medium. People, the first thing before you hit the mic, they see what you're wearing. They see what you look like. And so they form an idea of what's about to happen in those few seconds. So why wouldn't you think about what you're wearing?
Why not be provocative and be like a little bit, rock and roll? I feel like it's at the same time as well, like, I feel like in the public eye, it's like, why not? I used to always say this. I'd be like, oh my God, I love that outfit. I want to wear that like when I'm famous. As like a joke, I'd say that to my friends, like, when I'm famous, I'll wear that. And there's a part of me that's like, you got to dress for the job that you want. You gotta dress like a fucking rock star. Like,
the comments that like stick in your head.
Yes.
That like, the person didn't even A, necessarily mean anything by it, and B, would not remember it now if you brought it up.
Is that so funny when that happens? And you're like this every night, waking up going,
yeah. Have you ever had someone, I think I've been on both sides of this, but like a friend of mine from high school recently who I'm still in touch with, but don't, I might go a few years without seeing him. He randomly, I like ran into him the night I was having a birthday drinks, and I was like, hey, I'm having a drink tonight. You should come down. And he was like, okay. He just came down, hadn't seen him for ages. And he ended up sticking with us for the whole night. And it was like 3 a.m. or something. And he was like, man, I gotta tell you something. Like, I've just always felt bad about this like thing that I got you to be in like 10 years ago. And I'd written this script, and I really felt like you thought that I'd written that for you because I thought that that's what I thought of you, but really I was writing it sort of about myself from a place of like my own sort of loathing about this side of myself. And I've just always really felt like, you would have seen that and like maybe been a bit hurt that like that's what I thought about you, but that wasn't, that's not what it was at all.
Oh my God.
And he really like opened up and pulled his heart
Jesus.
out. And I had to be like, I've got to be honest, I do not remember that at all. I felt so bad that it was like, this has kept him awake at night. But then you go, what about all the stuff that people have said that's had an effect that they don't, you know what I mean? It's like,
it's crazy.
Can I take this one in lieu and like file that away and be like, I actually don't need that, but thank you. But can you call that person and get them to apologize about this thing that I actually do remember?
It's such a crazy thing that like one little comment will literally drive you insane. Like even I keep going back to the family thing because it is something that like unfortunately I think about.
I mean, they're the ones that, hey, they started it all.
They started it all.
They fuck you up more than anyone.
They fuck you up more than anyone. But like I'll never forget I was doing well in Perth. This is like 2020. And I got like a spread, like a full page spread in like the West Australian about my comedy, which was amazing. Also, like I was
my
no
girlfriend
one
went to
then.
hospital, but anyway, keep going.
Don't make me feel guilty about making the West Australian. Your fiance is going to be so proud of that. She's going to go, she was in the West Australian. That's sick.
Yeah. I'm next to a hospital bed looking at a photo of you in a bikini in the West Australian.
That's so
funny. It's for the podcast.
That's so funny.
That I'll start in 4 years.
Oh, God, I'm pissing. Because I actually was in like a pink dress. And it was like, I guess, you know, but like quite skin tight and sneakers, and I had my hair done and they just, you know, doing silly poses, and I kind of was like posing like a model because I think it's funny like that my persona or like me, comedy doesn't look like how I do comedy. Like that's why I think it's funny to almost be on the lineup and there's like all the photos of everyone and mine's like a glamour shot. And
again, like it sticks out.
It sticks out, right? That's why I like it. And then
you care about the stuff that most comics are like, my headshot is just a photo of me on stage that someone took on an iPhone.
Totally.
Like, caring about all this stuff is like, I love it. It's like, because everyone should be invested in some way because all of this stuff adds up to it.
It all adds up, and it's like kind of why I'm like, and that's why it's going the way it's going because I've like, God, don't even get me started on the promo videos. I've got to start drafting up the scripts for after this. But no, it was funny how like I was in the paper and it was kind of exciting. And then I remember my auntie making a comment to my dad, like, and my dad telling me, and I got so angry at him for telling me that she was like, she was asking him about, because me and my sisters, I'm the eldest of 3 girls and we're all creatives. We're all in the arts. I'm very lucky to have parents that support us. You know, they just are very supportive. Like we fucking pay our own way to do it. But like they're always like, if you ever.
They weren't like, hey, why don't you study this instead?
Which was really nice. Very much like go to uni first. But then, you know, after that, it's like, go. You better give this a good shot. And then my auntie was asking because her youngest son, I guess, like was playing in bands, which I used to do as well, and was like, oh, you know, I'm a bit worried, you know, because he's doing something creative. And my dad was going, well, look at my daughters, you know, they're doing well though. Like it's really fucking hard work, but you've got to support them because like, look what happens. Like Eloise is, you know, doing this, doing that. And then my auntie said, yeah, but she doesn't have to show her ass in the paper. And it was just me in a dress, like posing like to the side. You could see like, I guess the side of my, like it's nothing. Like I'm probably wearing like, I don't even, if I show you the photo, you're going to laugh.
Scintillating like 1940s stuff.
Honestly, I'm like, if you saw the 1920s, you'd be like, now Eloise's is like conservative. I look like a nun compared to the 1920s. You know what I mean? But anyway, and then my dad telling me that and it drove me.
I mean that, that's the other side of it too, where it's like someone not even making the comment themselves, but just like relaying it. It's like, why would you tell me that they'd said that? I've had. Don't
you think that's funny when people do that? It's almost you want to be like, thanks for telling me, but also like, please never tell me that again. But then also you want to. Do you want to know? Like I don't know.
And so like now I'm almost. If I had just heard them say that, I'd be angry at them. But now you're also. I'm shooting the messenger because you didn't have to deliver me that message.
Honestly, it's like, and then I'll never forget because of that moment. And then like, it's, oh my God, it's so fucking wog energy. I remember
every podcast I've ever done over the course of it, there's like, oh, this should be the show.
But it's
the like conversations that have gotten under your skin that you are certain that the other person doesn't even remember.
It's crazy.
And then we call them live on the air and we're like, do you remember saying this?
A podcast.
And the minute that the person's like, yeah, I said that and I meant it, then it's like, okay, well, we have to end the show now.
I meant it, so I don't know what you want to say.
No, I remember.
That's so funny.
That's crazy that you had that response to it because that's exactly what I was going for.
And that's exactly what I wanted you to do.
That's really what I wanted to happen. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know.
Because I've been losing sleep over the idea that maybe this hadn't upset you.
I was hoping it fucking upset you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, no, I just like even people.
Sorry, yes, what was the...
No, cousins relaying like things that I'd posted on Facebook to their uncle, to their dad, which is my uncle, then telling my dad, then me getting in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
fucking world? And I think about that and I go, I'm sorry, but what the fuck did you guys get up to back in the day? Because they didn't have social media, like the shit that they would have done. And all of a sudden it was me in a car with my cousins, like just taking silly photos. It was like, Eloise should be careful. She won't get a job. I'm like, bitch, like that's what I should be careful of. It's like,
This
what
is
did you
such
guys
a
get away with?
microcosm of like outrage culture where it's like it's not even the person that the thing is about, or like they didn't even see it. They just heard it relayed fifth hand and now they're angry. This is like a microcosm where you're at the family dinner table just being like, you can't say anything anymore, but just in the context of your own family.
Of my own family. It's like even the fact that like I think I remember posting on Facebook like about George Pell.
Yep.
And being like, fuck George Pell or whatever when it all came out. And I remember my dad gets a phone call from my uncle going, Eloise should be careful, posting things like that. She won't get work. And I was like, my dad's telling me like, Eloise, you should be careful. I'm going, my job is to like tear things like that down and like post about that. Like, don't fucking, and but it's like, I've had to like go through all that to almost, I'll never forget. I like Newcastle Comedy Festival did the gala. I'm at brunch with Dil Rook and Andrew Milos. And it was the night after I posted about the election saying like, you don't have to vote Liberal just because your parents do. Because I posted that because when I was younger, I was a bit like, I just didn't, I wasn't thinking about politics. I wasn't thinking about it from my perspective.
That's
I was going,
the problem. People vote because of who their parents voted for.
And that's why I posted it. I wasn't having a go at people that vote. I mean, maybe I was, but it was also like, it's not like I went, fuck everyone that votes Liberal. Like you're a fucking idiot. It was like, just don't vote Liberal just because your parents do.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what they fucking do, right? Yeah. And then I am getting bombarded by like my young Lib cousins, one that works for like someone in the Liberal Party, which I'm even embarrassed to fucking say that, like the way that they're like, Eloise is ruined, if they find out we're the same last name, I'm going, how do you think I fucking feel if I found out I was related to people that are that's embarrassing for me.
Yeah.
And I was at brunch with these guys in comedy who like, I'm friends with and a fan of, and I'm having like a panic attack at the brunch. And Dilrook's like, you're going to be okay, like trying to calm me down. I'll never forget like having a full on panic attack because I was like, I'm going to get a call from my dad. I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah, for just saying, hey, just have a think about who you're voting for. And like, taking a stance against George Pell.
And after all of that, I blocked them. And I blocked these particular family members and they don't see my stuff anymore. Because it's just like, what kind of fucking world am I living? Like, and also just these little things like you're saying, when people say things to you and it stays in your head, I'm trying so hard to let things go lately, or like just like really not focus, or just try and like have empathy and be like, that person's obviously fucking going through something, because I think a lot of the time it's projection,
like all of the time it is.
All of the time.
Yeah.
It actually is all of the time. I'm being too nice saying that,
Yeah. But okay, so I think that's maybe your expert. What this has turned into in the few that I've done is like it was me thinking, here's what I think this person is an expert in. So I'll sit down with them and get to the root of that. And first of all, I'm incapable of staying on topic. So that makes it difficult. And also,
me too.
When I've pitched that to people really don't like to be pigeonholed, is what you find.
Totally.
People feel like you're making a very reductive, like you're just only about this one thing. Because I would say confidence and like owning yourself is to look at you from a distance. Yeah. And it kind of is, but it is also interesting to hear that it's like, it is and it isn't.
It is, yeah. It's actually quite funny because I feel like that's what's tripping me up, is that I know that I have this confidence and I've got this, but there's something that's in me that's going like, no, remember, you're that loser in high school, guys don't like you, like all of that kind of thing. And it's kind of, I hate that I feel like I have to shut down or be closed off. I'm like, I want to live my life to the fullest. And I feel like I do when it comes to like career or friendship or family. But when it comes to like relationships, like romantic relationships, it's almost like I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't want to be that way. I want to be powerful in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm almost like, I don't know if it's like the patriarchy growing up as a woman being told you have to be, guys don't like it when you're, when you're too much, or you have to be a bit more mysterious. I'm like, well, that's not fucking working, because the more that I'm like playing this persona, I think people are going like, well, if she would want me, she'd say something. In my show, I play different fantasy, like male fantasies in the show, e.g. a fembot, which is a bit of a giveaway, but doesn't matter. And then that's maybe a chance to flirt with a version of me that, is a bit different.
Oh, right. It's like a...
Like I play like I'm like a bookworm. She's British and she's really, really, really shy.
So sit in the front.
Yeah, sit in the front.
It's like practice for these
sit in the
archetypes
front.
that you may meet in the real world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's the bartender. She's like the cool girl bartender from LA.
I think you started saying I don't want to spoil it, and now you just are listing all
I
of
am
them.
listing all the, but also what's making me laugh is it's all in the promo video. So
Yeah, of course.
I won't spoil the last character, but she's technically the beach babe, but I won't say anything else about her.
Okay, all right.
But I'm like, it's quite funny. I'm like, yeah, I think there's a part of that show that's also 2.0 for this next show of almost like,
okay,
of like the finding love, or like what is love, like being a female comedian and being told like guys don't like it when you're funnier than them.
Yeah, okay.
Because I've definitely dated, do you know how hard it is to date people who are like, I think that your job is something that I could fucking do. And
Yeah, of course.
that's fucking annoying. It's so annoying.
I mean, but the problem is that is like, that is all comedy.
That's all
you meet people all the time who are
Everybody
like,
wants
it's
to
not
be-
that hard. I'm the funny guy. And that's what's great about going to like a raw comedy heat. Is that
Exactly.
You see the barbecue comedian finally having a crack and it's like,
and they fucking bomb
hell,
as
they
well.
suck.
And
Yeah.
but that's also what I was going to say. It's like,
And so that's annoying enough just a person after a show, let alone that you are living with and
Can you
choosing to
imagine?
spend all your free time with.
Fuck that. Like, and that's also what makes me laugh though, is like, that is so true that I think every man in the world, probably not every man, but majority think that they could be a stand-up comedian. That's their dream.
Big time.
So then for me to date men, it's like they think that my job is something that they could do and probably think they could do it better than me. Like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to be.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not the case with everyone. I'm trying to be more open and not be so like, did you say you wanted to try stand-up? Because get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
No, that's so mean. I'm going like, you know what really is like a pet peeve? Like my ex would always be like, I really want to try stand-up. I really want to try. I really want to. Just fucking do it then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't fucking talk about.
Do you think he was holding back from saying, but I wouldn't want to like accidentally then like eclipse you and just immediately be, you know what I mean? I'm
This is
sure
me
that was
being
like a part of him of like,
yeah.
because as soon as I start doing it, I'm going to start doing great. And
I was going-
it's going to really make things awkward.
And that's why that was the foresight I think I saw. And that's why I ended up being like, you think that you could do what I do? It's fucking hard work, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, all of that. I don't know. I feel like I'm an expert in being like confident on stage, but maybe off stage, I struggle to be confident when it comes to certain relationships.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. ELOUISE EFTOS, everybody. If you enjoyed that chat, definitely look her up online. She's at Weezer Squeezer on Instagram. She has her show, Australia's First Attractive Comedian, at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, starting in a couple of weeks. She's then touring it to Sydney and a ton of other places that I'm sure I can't remember off the top of my head right now because I'm doing this at 11 p.m. the night before it goes up. But go see her live. The show has been absolutely killing it all over the place. All over Australia and in fact all over the world. She's really getting such a great response to the show. Like I said, I did not particularly know her before we sat down to do the episode, and I had a great time chatting to her. I think what she's doing is super cool and interesting and funny and just so different to a lot of other comedy that is out there at the moment. So definitely go and check her out. I would love to hear from you guys about what you thought of this episode if you get onto patreon.com/howtodoeverything. That is where you can have a chat about what you thought about the episode. Anything that it jogged for you, I would love to hear about it. Have you pissed off your parents with things that you've done? Do you find yourself having to be kind of, I guess, like self-deprecating to just like fit in, or because you feel like that's what's expected of you? Do you have any funny memories from lockdown of like crazy rumors up there with the security guard routing the contaminated patient? Literally anything in this episode that jogged something for you, I would love to hear it. Patreon.com/howtodoeverything. It is free to get on there for now. And if you're enjoying the show, you can also follow us on Instagram at howtodoeverythingpodcast. And please, if you like the show, pass it on to a friend. Get onto your podcast app of choice. Leave us a nice review. All of it helps. Thank you so much for listening. I truly, truly do appreciate every one of you that are here joining me every week. I love doing this show, and I love hearing from you folks every week. Thank you again. That is it for this week. I will see you next time. Thank you once again, and I'll see you then. Bye.